While Pacifica was building her own raft, Mabel just stifled giggles and laughs at what Pacifica said earlier. Making a raft of her own was tough work, but Dipper and Wendy just watched Pacifica from their hut. They could see why Pacifica was angry about being stuck on the island, and they all were on the same page as her. Although for Mabel, Dipper, and Wendy, they decided to see the island being a different from their point of view. Well, I can say this now, Wendy. Pacifica isn't going to get off of that island far with that raft she's building. It won't stay strong for her, Dipper said. I could see that being the case. Like Pacifica needs to be more mature about this, Wendy added, seeing Pacifica almost finishing building her own raft. She's never going to get off the island on that raft, Dipper sighed, watching Mabel sitting on some rocks by the shore, watching Pacifica take off on her raft. As Pacifica got on her raft, she didn't get far with it though, maybe within about a few feet from the island. While Pacifica was on the raft, it then collapsed and broke apart, making Mabel laugh at her remark. Dipper and Wendy knew that their predictions were correct. The raft collapsed on Pacifica, forcing her to swim back to the island. "You're never gonna get off that island on that raft. I knew it!" Mabel chuckled laughter, causing Pacifica to feel humiliated. "Wendy and I predicted that Pacifica, you should have stayed," Dipper added, only to get a banana peel thrown at his face. "You guys are all so stupid. There is no way I'm heading back home with you guys," Pacifica said angrily, startling the Pines. "She doesn't mean it. She's just frustrated about being stuck on the island," Wendy said, trying to lighten up the mood. "I'll go talk to her," Mabel stated. She then ran off to find Pacifica where the coconut trees were. "Pacifica, we don't want you to go off on the island by yourself." "And how does that gonna help me?" Pacifica snarled. "We're your friends, and we care about what happens to you. Besides, we'll catch the next ship that sails by," Mabel said reassuringly. "That next ship will be in 100 years from now, thanks to your shitty brain," Pacifica barked, throwing a coconut at Mabel, which it thankfully missed her. "What was that for? You know better after you apologized to me for being a bully to me in the past, and now you're being a bully to me again? This isn't cool of you, Pacifica," Mabel barked back, grabbing a coconut, ready to strike at Pacifica if she was going to do something stupid. "I don't give a rat's ass about that. You're just being the same old Mabel," Pacifica sighed. Then she began to mock Mabel, making her even more angry. "Hi, I'm Mabel. My pig's name is Waddles, and I love unicorns dancing on rainbows." Just as Pacifica started to mock Mabel, she just had enough of Pacifica's bratty attitude towards her. Mabel threw the coconut, which hit Pacifica on the head, knocking her to the ground. Mabel ran up to Pacifica, hoping that she didn't hurt her badly. "Oh my god, Pacifica, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to hit you," Mabel said in a panicked state. Just as Pacifica woke up, she slapped Mabel across the face angrily. "You threw a coconut at me, so who's being the bully now?" Pacifica scoffed, getting up and walking away from Mabel. "I can't believe I'm saying this, but I wish you were dead," Pacifica shouted the last word, before running off back to shore, causing Mabel to feel hurt. When the girls got back to their hut, Dipper could see that Pacifica angrily stormed inside her room in the hut. Dipper wondered what Pacifica was so angry about. That was when Mabel ran inside the hut crying. "Wendy, did you see Pacifica angrily stormed inside the hut?" Dipper asked, while feeding his parrot a piece of fruit. "Yeah, Mabel ran inside crying. I wonder if Pacifica hurt her or something," Wendy replied. "Maybe I should go and talk to Pacifica, and you go talk to Mabel. We both got to get to the bottom of this," Dipper said, as he and Wendy both split up to talk to the girls privately. After about 20 minutes, Dipper and Wendy both walked out of the hut. They walked and talked to Pacifica and Mabel about what happened, and so the girls gave their explanation to them, which kind of took a toll on them. Pacifica was mocking Mabel and threw a coconut at her, and they also got into a fight, and Pacifica went as far as wishing death on my sister, Dipper said. "Did she yell at you?" Wendy asked. She almost did, but I told her that she needs to apologize to Mabel for taking her anger out on her. But she'll do that when she's ready. I understand that Pacifica is still mad, Dipper answered. How about Mabel? Did you try to calm her down? She was in tears when I talked to her. She said that because Pacifica called her a bully, and not to mention that she was almost hit by a coconut. And that resulted in Mabel throwing another one at Pacifica, but didn't mean to hit her in the head. And when Pacifica smacked her face, she wished death on Mabel. Wendy replied, answering Dipper's question about Mabel's side of the story. I hope they apologize to each other. The fighting's never gonna get us off the island, Dipper said. I hope so too, Wendy replied. For the next week, Pacifica and Mabel weren't really speaking to each other ever since they had gotten into an argument. Dipper and Wendy did what they could to have the girls apologize to each other. But Pacifica isn't the one to forgive anyone that easily. Mabel had gone to the altar in the deepest part of the jungle, bringing flowers to the altar and praying to it as if it was a god. However, Pacifica still hasn't had the decency to forgive Mabel and even apologize to her yet. And this was worrying everyone. One day while exploring the island, Mabel and Dipper were at the beach collecting shells. This one will be perfect, Dipper said, showing Mabel a seashell he found. You could hear the ocean with it, perfect for display. Mabel nodded in agreement. May I see it? As Mabel stepped forward towards Dipper to see the shell he found, she stepped on something that wasn't a rock. What Mabel failed to realize that what she stepped on was a poisonous fish. As soon as she stepped on the stonefish, she felt a lot of pain in her feet. Mabel, what happened? Dipper asked, seeing Mabel limping towards the sand. Mabel, answer me. What happened? What did you step on? Dipper asked again, now worried for his sister. Poisonous fish, Mabel muttered out the words, still feeling a lot of pain. What happened, Dips? Wendy asked, seeing Dipper and Mabel on the beach. Mabel stepped on a poisonous fish, stonefish, I believe, Dipper answered, nearly close to having a breakdown. It does look like she stepped on a stonefish, and we don't have any antibiotics for this, Wendy sighed sadly. Then Pacifica showed up. Mabel, what happened? Pacifica asked, now sounding worried about her friend. She stepped on a stonefish, which is a very poisonous fish, Dipper answered. Then that made Pacifica's heart sank into darkness. When she wished death on Mabel due to them having an argument, she didn't want Mabel to die. However, if she did, Pacifica would be living with regret for the rest of her life. There's gotta be something we could do to save her, but how? Pacifica questioned. We have no doctors here, and I'm no doctor or expert, but Mabel may die from the poison, Wendy answered sadly. Take me, Mabel moaned quietly, catching everyone's attention. I think my sister's trying to say something, Dipper said, catching his wife and his friend's attention. Take me to a god, when Mabel spat out. The forbidden part of the jungle, the god is there, Wendy said, realizing that what Mabel was saying. I hate to break the rules of the island, but if there's a god there, it may just save Mabel's life. I'm sorry to break this rule, Grunkle Stan, but this is to save Mabel's life. Mabel knew the way, but who could show us if she's too weak to walk? Pacifica asked. Spock can. Spock! Wendy called. The falcon flew down from the hut and landed on Wendy's arm. How come the claws are not hurting you, Wendy? Dipper asked. High tolerance pain is my guess. I am used to having this guy using me as a tree branch, Wendy answered, then turned to the falcon. Spock, can you take us to the deepest part of the jungle? There's an altar in the clearing there. Mabel claims that there's a god there that may just save her life. Will you please lead us the way? Mabel's the only one who knows but is too weak to take us, Wendy answers as she starts to tear up. Then, the falcon nods and begins to fly. As soon as Spock started to fly, Dipper carried Mabel with the help of Pacifica and Wendy to the deepest part of the jungle. While following the falcon there, they all approached the altar in the clearing. Pacifica knew that she was the only one that wished death on Mabel, but now regretted saying that to Mabel. Dipper, I should place her on the front of the altar. I shouldn't have wished death on Mabel, and I shouldn't have done it, Pacifica said, taking Mabel in her arms before placing her on the rock in front of the altar. Wendy and Dipper watched as Pacifica looked at Mabel before looking at the altar in front of her. Hoping that this god can save Mabel's life, they were praying to God that Mabel will be alive. God, if you can hear me, please don't take Mabel or make her never wake up. It's my fault for wishing death on her, but that was during an argument I had a week ago. I'm sorry for wishing death on her. I will never forgive myself if she dies. I didn't want her to die. I didn't mean anything harsh towards her. Please let her live. I won't ever wish anything harsh on anyone again, Pacifica said, crying a few tears in the process. Please save us, Mabel, God. As Pacifica cried near Mabel's body, Dipper and Wendy hugged her as well, sharing a good cry. They waited on the altar for a while, hoping that Mabel will have her life saved and not taken. Within an hour, Mabel slowly opened her eyes and sat up, seeing Pacifica with her brother and her sister-in-law. Mabel, you're alive, Pacifica said cheerfully, hugging Mabel as she hugged her back. I'm sorry for being such a bully a week ago, and I'm sorry for wishing death on you. I forgive you, Pacifica. I'm sorry too, Mabel said, standing up from the rock. I'm glad you're okay, Mabel. We were all worried about you, Wendy replied. Thanks to Spock, we found our way here, Dipper said, as the Falcon landed on his shoulder. I think Spock says, let's get out of here. I agree. Whoever or whatever lives here, it may be dangerous, Mabel agreed. Then everyone left the altar and headed back towards the shelter on shore. Back at the hut, Pacifica and Mabel agree not to bully or hurt each other, but to help out if something is wrong. Seeing that they're getting along much better, they started to help each other out, even hanging out together as friends. Dipper and Wendy were so glad to see the girls getting along again, making them happy that they're not fighting anymore.